Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of Ask Britt Shit. I'm going to do things a little differently from now on. Instead of just taking 2 or 3 questions, I'm just going to take 1, because that way it gives me more time to thoroughly answer said question. Now, if the question is like, what is your favorite type of pie? It might be kind of hard to turn that into a 3-minute video, but I will do my very best. And because I have been a douchebag for the past couple times, I will start pulling from my handwritten letters that you sent me. All of you sent me because you're all awesome. So thank you so much for doing this. You guys rock socks. Rock warm and fuzzy, tri-colored rainbow socks. That's what you rock. And as always, I have my trusty Jack Daniels who will help me come up with my answer to this week's question. Straight face that one. Usually I'm like, ooh, this one's from the Netherlands. Oh, it's like an antique, not an antique. It's like a souvenir. Souvenir from the Netherlands. Wow. I'm easily amused, people. It does not take much for me to get all excited. La-di-da. A question. Have you played Dragon Age 2 yet? I haven't, so I was wondering what your thoughts are about the game. I like BioWare games, especially their storytelling, whether it's Dragon Age or Mass Effect. Alright! This is a question I can answer. First of all, I love Dragon Age Origins, and for those of you who don't really know, Origins was the first installment in the Dragon Age franchise. And I played Origins right around the time it released, loved it, and then around the time it was for Dragon Age 2 to be released, I revisited Dragon Age Origins, played it all the way through, did all of its DLC, and then I jumped immediately into Dragon Age 2, which, unknowingly, was probably one of the worst things I could have done to myself and to my expectations of Dragon Age 2. And the reason for that is because in Origins you have a ton of different environments, and I feel like the character interaction is pretty fleshed out. You know, there's a lot to see and a lot to do, and it's pretty varied in terms of content. Now, Dragon Age 2 was, I hate to say it because I ended up really liking Dragon Age 2, but my first playthrough of Dragon Age 2, it just felt like a low quality expansion of Dragon Age Origins that really didn't deserve the title of even expansion, because I was very butthurt. So here's the deal. Dragon Age 2 reused a ton of locations. I mean, you would go down into a crypt and you would see a bunch of like blocked off doors that you couldn't go in. And then maybe 10 hours later into the game, you would go into a cavern, and it would be the exact same layout of that prior crypt, except for those doors that were blocked out were now open. So it's kind of like BioWare took the level design, it was just really poor, and they're like, hey, let's just reuse all these environments, but we'll open up different doors, and that'll make the game fresh and exciting and new and rad. And it didn't work out that way, because part of what makes Dragon Age so awesome is it has this great, fantastic lore, and part of the excitement of discovering that lore is to actually see these environments and these locations that, that are always talked about. So in Dragon Age 2, I was hoping that I'd get to see a lot more. The reusable locations were a really, really big boner kill, but that's not it. A part of the other problem was I felt like the character interaction was just really crap. I thought the characters themselves were very interesting, but they weren't given enough love and attention and care, and they just weren't. They just weren't. For example, every character, I think it's every character, anywho, every character in Dragon Age 2 has like a home base where you can go and find them in between missions or whatnot, which is actually a really cool idea, I think. But whenever you would go and talk to them after like a huge like story-altering thing had been had and done and executed, they would have nothing new to say about it, which was really discouraging, and it really tore down that, what's that saying? It tore down a wall. I can't remember what the saying is, but, you know, I might be super immersed, like something like crazy might have happened, and I'm like, Fenris, what do you think about this? And they were like, Hawk, because he didn't like me. So he didn't even say hi, he was just like, Hawk. Like, but Fenris, we killed the bad guy. Hawk. Yeah, I was like, ah, fuck this shit, that sucks. This might sound petty, but something else that kind of bugged me in Dragon Age 2 was the whole like friend rival meter, you know, so all you had was like a bar. It's just like, pretend there's a bar between my hands, and it was like friend, rival, or rival, friend, one or the other. And there was no indication of like if you're romancing this person or if they're just really liking you as a friend. I mean, my first playthrough, I had talked to Anders maybe like 3 or 4 times, and next thing I know, he's like, Hawk, I want your babies. And I was like, whoa, Homeskill, like, where is this coming from? So that was a little off-putting for me, just because I play Dragon Age games not for, like, the action or whatever. I play them for the story, the characters, and the lore. And so when I'm, like, spending all my time, like, talking to these characters, I don't really know, like, what's up with them, how do they feel about me, and just to have that, like, little friend rival meter, I was like, oh, come on, guys. Come on, give me more. Finally, thought the story of Dragon Age 2, well, it always left me with that feeling of like, okay, where is this going? Why am I doing this? I mean, I kind of know why I'm doing this, but is this really significant to the story? I don't even know, like, what I'm trying to do in this story. And then before I knew it, the game reached its climax and it was over and the credits were rolling. And I was like, what? But despite all of that shitting on, I recently revisited Dragon Age 2 when it came time for Inquisition's release, because I realized I did not remember anything that happened in Dragon Age 2 because I only played it once and I wasn't a big fan, so I never really had the urge to revisit it. But this time when I revisited Dragon Age 2, I had very tempered expectations. One, I knew where the story was going, so I wasn't like completely blindsided when like the climax happened and, you know, credits were rolling. I was like, ha, I saw that coming, and I was able to, you know, like plan my steps and my side quests accordingly. Something else I did that really helped make my second playthrough of Dragon Age 2 like super rad and more awesome than the first was I switched up my party members a lot more. So in the first time I played Dragon Age 2, I stuck with like mostly Anders, Isabella, and Barrick, you know, which is a really good group, but after a while those personalities get kind of, you know, you've heard them bicker enough and you kind of need some fresh meat in there, which is why in my second playthrough I switched up everyone and I romanced a new person, which was Fenris, and I'm all about Fenris now. Anders can suck a big fat elephant wiener. No, don't do that, that's weird. But that really kept things fresh for me, and it really gave me a new perspective from the other character's point of view. So instead of just kind of seeing, you know, like Anders and Barrick's and Isabella's point of view, I was seeing Meryl's and Aveline's, and that was really cool. But the thing I think that really helped me enjoy Dragon Age 2 much more the second time around was my Hawk character. So, you know, in Mass Effect, you can play as like a renegade or a paragon, and you can have like those in-between, whatever personality traits. Dragon Age 2, you have that same sort of thing. And the first time I played a very like civil, like paragon-y Hawk, and I was very like, oh, I'd like to come over for tea and crumpets later, would you like to join me? You know, or whatever that was, I don't even know. But someone on Twitter told me that I need to play as a humorous Hawk the next time I ever visited Dragon Age 2, and I heeded that advice, and it honestly made the biggest difference ever. I mean, I really related to Hawk and her sarcasm and her humor and her wit. It was really good for me to get that perspective from that Hawk character, because my first one, it was just so boring and it made the game kind of boring. But I was looking forward to every dialogue option with my humorous Hawk, because I was like, yeah, say something funny, click, and she would just nail it and it was perfect. Not to mention, it made importing her into Dragon Age Inquisition like that much more awesome. It was like, yeah, there's my witty bitch, she's bad. So in short, first round of Dragon Age 2 wasn't very good, second one was a lot better, and if I were you going into it brand new and fresh and all virgin-y, I would just set expectations, kind of know what the game really won't deliver on, but please, like, appreciate the points it does deliver on. Like, you know, the characters they're really well done characters, just they weren't given as much, like, love and dialogue as I think they should have been given. The story, it's a very integral part of Dragon Age lore, so appreciate that for what it is. And yeah, just, you know, have tempered expectations, and I think you'll enjoy it a lot more than if you go into it expecting like a true blue sequel to Dragon Age Origins. I hope I answered your question, and it got really bright in here. Oh god, the light! If there is anything you would like to ask me, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to post a comment below or write me a handwritten letter with your questions. Those are always fun for me. Just try to include a question in there somewhere. That's all. I mean, it can be anything, so almost anything. Bye!